Hi there, this is Alex Robert, and I'm here with our hydrogeology and groundwater systems speaker, Matt Uliana, to talk about our upcoming two-session webinar. So Matt, tell us a little bit about what you'll be covering in this course.
So we'll be talking about the fundamentals of how fluid occurs and moves through the subsurface. We're going to be talking about the energy that drives fluid movement, the properties of the media through which the fluid moves. We're going to cover the components of groundwater systems and how we study those systems. And then we're going to get into some qualitative applications of using the primary equations to calculate fluid velocities, to predict the impact of wells, to evaluate geochemical data and use geochemical data to understand groundwater systems and to understand the fundamentals of contaminant hydrogeology.
That's a lot of information. No wonder it is a two-part course. So Matt, as you bring 20 years in hydrogeology and groundwater consulting, what are some of the biggest mistakes or misconceptions that you've seen people make with groundwater?
If I could address it towards students that come out of hydrogeology-related programs, one of the biggest deficiencies I see is that they fail to understand the difference between vertical and horizontal hydraulic gradients, and they fail to understand that gradient is something that exists in 3 dimensions. It's easy to think of fluid flow in 2 dimensions, but it's hard to think of it in 3-dimensional terms. And that's something that students tend to fall short on early in their careers. In terms of what people don't seem to understand is that people have an idea in general that groundwater systems, I think they understand that they're dynamic, but they have a problem understanding that groundwater systems operate on much longer time scales than surface water systems do. So we can easily see drought and drought cycles with surface water systems. We have a couple years of drought and the reservoirs get really low. You have one good rainfall and then that causes everything to recover. In groundwater systems, those systems operate on decades to centuries. So a couple of years of drought really don't affect a high groundwater system, and that's not really critical in terms of how a couple of years of drought is going to affect the overall recharge to the typical aquifer. The only caveat to that is that whenever we have a drought, people tend to pump more. So that in turn is going to, so the human influence can affect the aquifers, but naturally they don't really respond that much to drought scenarios on single or multiple year basis.
That makes sense. And for the audience members who haven't signed up yet, why should they sign up?
Well, someone should take this course if they are a specialist, if they're a technical specialist and haven't had a hydrogeology course or took one a long time ago and need a refresher on the basic concepts so that they can apply some of these concepts to their professional careers. This would be a very good overall refresher course for them on the basic concepts and how do you do some of the basic calculations. For someone who's not in a technical background but works with groundwater, say somebody who works for a municipal water supply or someone who works for a law firm that deals with water law, or someone who is just a citizen and a stakeholder in an area that has an aquifer that's getting a lot of attention from people who are trying to develop that groundwater, this would be a very useful class for them to help them understand what the basic terms mean, what the basic concepts mean, so that they can understand the material that the individual, that the specialists are putting out, and so that they can communicate with them and understand what some of the things mean. Even if they never have to do the calculation, they still need to have a basic understanding of what the calculation is and what the limitations of that calculation are, so that they can communicate with them and then hopefully make better choices about what programs to support and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it can really help someone who is not in a technical background to understand these concepts better so that they can communicate with people who are in a technical background.
Thanks, Matt. Well, that's all we have time for today. You can sign up for our hydrogeology and groundwater systems webinar at foresteruniversity.net, as well as our library of 225 courses, or check out our other clips at our Forestry University YouTube channel.